Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your Minifigure host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Today we are having a day with Sonic. And here's the cool thing. Not only do you get a chance to listen to the episode, but you can head over to our Instagram account, the Bricks King podcast, and you can see videos and photos of exactly what you are going to get yourself into. It's something it's trying to up the social media game, just another facet of things. So go ahead and head over there after the episode, during the episode, whatever, and see some of the tutorials, especially because these sets are mainly play sets. These sets are targeted to young kids and not so much the adults. With that said, first one that we're going to talk about today is, you have to have a jumping off point. So the first one is Sonic's Speed Sphere Challenge. 76990 is the set number. 292 pieces, and it retails for $35 here in the United States and 30 euros. Now, I already know there's going to be moans and groans about the price and stuff like that. I get it. I feel ya. But we're dealing with some very large pieces of plastic. So what you do get in here is you do get Sonic, and Sonic in this case, he does have his eyes open. In one of the sets, his eye, he is winking. So you do get different variants of Sonic. So big old Sonic head, really well done. I think they captured it just perfectly. You do get your little birdie thing. You know, when you've played a Sonic game and you hit certain things and those little animals, they jump out and pop out and stuff like that. You get the little blue bird here. You also get a number of set pieces, one of which is like this, it's almost like a concert in the jungle feel to it. It has a very Sonic-like brick-built tree with some really big old leaves on it. But the funny thing is it almost looks like claws. It's very, very bizarre. You have some big speakers, and then you have a turntable, which, by the way, has two of the same printed 2x2 tiles, round tiles, with Sonic's face on it and the edge of what is supposed to be like a record. Another little added play value there is that the record does spin, so you can get your hands real dirty there, mixing up the soundtrack. There is also a little stand, a little table here with a multicolored, multi-tiered umbrella that has a hot dog on the table and a little lounge chair for Sonic to go chill out. It does come with 3 rings on their trans stands. And then we also have a few other things. So you have your big brick built ramp. Now, the cool thing about these ramps and such is the designers, what they did is you build a few levels and then you put either a 2x4 modified tile that has the 2 open stud holes on top, or they use the 2x2 with the 1 stud hole. So what happens is you can mix and match things and set up your own course however you would like. And the great thing about it is you only either have 1 or 2 studs worth of clutch power. So it just makes it nicer to be able to knock things over. That's essentially what you are trying to do. So the ramp here, we've got multiple build-up levels. And again, you can mix and match, do whatever you would like there. The ramp comes in 2 main pieces. There is a front lip to it and then the main jumping off point. One of the pieces I found absolutely fascinating is on the bottom because, of course, you've got to keep this thing from sliding across smooth surfaces. The question is, how do you go about it? Well, Lego took care of that design pretty handily. What they did is they took a 2x2 round plate, except it's inverted, where you have the studs that are up on the top, and usually it would be, I believe is what convex on the backside. We usually see them on the backside or the underside of like planes, like the Sonic plane, for instance, or other aircraft where certain things are touching the bottom, or vehicles that are skimming across the floor to help keep that from scratching. What they have done here is they have taken essentially a new version of a wheel hub, and they use a small tire. It's like a small airplane tire that we usually see. And what they have done is they have taken that, you put a tire on there, and they have two of these that are on the bottom. And what they are there for is to hold that friction, to hold that grasp of whatever surface that you put them on. So there is that added value as well. You also have another little set piece. This is an archway here. Across the top, it has one of those lovely prints on of the ring. So you do have that. That can be moved around however you want to put it, wherever you want to put it. Again, a very modular system for the most part. Nothing that you can really move across the top here. It does have a giant purple flower on it, which is pretty cool as well. Then you have your Moto Bug. Your Moto Bug is a brick-built creature from the Sonic universe. He does come with a 1x2 cheese slope piece here that has his printed eyes on it. Nothing else printed on it. It does have a little, all of these little bugs have a little, I guess, a compartment, an open compartment on the top where you could put a little animal. The one that I was talking about, like the little blue bird, you can put them in there. That way when they die, they go, boo, and, you know, the animals scurry away, hop away like they do in the games. So cute little brick-built bug. Not too bad. And you can put him, again, you can put him wherever you want. If you wanted to set him up on top of the arch, you can. You're not going to really be able to hit that, I don't think, very well. But in the actual set itself, they have him sat just above the ramp. The last piece, well, I should say almost the last piece of this, you do get a little cooler that comes with this. It's got some cola, Chaos Cola in there with some chunks of ice. Here is the interesting thing, the Sonic Spinner. It is two parts. It is held together by two Technic pins. You stick Sonic in there, you clip it in, and you're done. Now, I will tell you, this thing does hold together very, 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 very well. I shot this thing probably 30 times between the multiple sets, just out of curiosity to see how well it would hold up. Flying off of a counter onto a concrete floor, held up just fine. Sometimes I had a minor little opening of the joint, but for the most part, nothing at all. So we'll lay that aside here. The actual slammer to get Sonic to go flying is all Technic. You do have a big half shell of the little spinner that he's in. It is printed on top with the big golden Sonic star. And all this really does is this gives you your launching off point. All you do is sit your spinner in here. It sits behind two little rubber grommets on the bottom. When you slam it down, that thing is making contact. The sloped piece on the bottom side of this is just essentially pushing that forward. You know, pressure at some point is going to make it fly. And then there are also two rubber grommets that are up on the top here. And that is just to be able to keep maybe from breaking things off or whatnot. But that simply just comes to rest after you slam your slammer down on top of the Technic pieces just below that. It's a really cool set. I really like it. I know price is going to be a problem. There's a lot of functionality here with the play value of this, especially if you were somebody that was going to look at getting the entire wave or most of the wave, where you have all these other little pieces that you can set up and part together and stuff. A lot of fun there for a child, a lot of fun for some adults. I just don't see this being a big hit for adults in general. Price mainly. But there are some cool parts, but I'm sure at some point in time, pick a brick. You'll be able to get them on Lego's website, Bricks and Pieces, whatever it is. And yeah. So moving on to the next one here. We have Tails Workshop and a Tornado Plane. Not familiar with this one. Anyway, 76991, 376 pieces. It is going to retail for $40 and 43 euros, so a little bit cheaper here in the United States. So in here, you do get Sonic and Tails with his funky tail, and you get a Buzz Bomber, which we'll talk about the Buzz Bomber here in a moment. So first up, we have Sonic. Sonic has the exact same print as he did on the last one, except his head, as I'd mentioned, is a little bit different. In this case, he does have one eye winking at you, which is kind of neat. Just something a little bit different, and only a step up in price by a few bucks. It's nice that they don't, stick that in the most expensive set and say, well, if you want that, you have to go get it here. Tails, as I had mentioned, has his split tail. It hangs on both sides of him. There is a reason for it, especially when you try to get him into a vehicle. He does come with the short legs. He's got printing on the front, obviously, and his head sculpt looks really, really sharp. Really crisp paint on that head sculpt as well. So your Buzz Bomber that you have here, your Buzz Bomber is kind of, think of it as your like a bee type thing. This one is on a stand, on a trans stand. It does have wings that can move up and down, and then it has this, it has like this nose belly cone type thing that is going on here. And what you can do with it is you put the little like chickadee type animal, like I'd mentioned that come with these sets that you see in the games and such. And you stick that plastic nose cone on, that clear nose cone on. And when you knock him over, depending on how you knock him over, it can knock it loose, and then it'll knock your animal out and they're free and they scurry away. Sometimes it did work for me. Sometimes it didn't. It's all in a matter of how this guy falls over. But he does have the printed eyes as well. So nice stuff there to be able to get. Plus you're getting another new animal. It's a little white chick. You do get another lounge chair, different build this time. You do get a mobile tool rolling cart here, which has some kind of dyno gauge in it, like a dyno, a car dyno, not like a dinosaur. It's got some kind of cookies that are in here, which is a bizarre spot to stick some cookies. And then you also have your wrench, because every plane mechanic needs a wrench. You get 3 rings here yet again, except they are on the trans stands, but they also have a trans clear pole that goes up into the ring so that it is higher off of the ground. The reason for that is because you are trying to take it out with the plane. Now, the plane in this case is one of my favorite planes of this size, this smaller version size that LEGO has done in some time. It's dual winged, by the way. So putting the wing on top was actually really interesting. I've never seen this done before. So what they've done is the parts that LEGO seems to be obsessed with. They are 1x2. This is the best way I can describe it. They are 1x2 rounded ended modified plates with open stud holes. Holy crap. But that's not it. Okay. They have created a mold from those that we've seen, in the last, I think probably in the last year or so, 2 years. And what they did is it's a little bar that's attached to the mold, and then it attaches into another one of those plates, right? We've seen a lot of things that open and close that clip into place like that. They used them in, not Elden Ring, Lord of the Rings, the Rivendell stuff. They've used it with the new El Dorado Fortress to be able to mix and match things. I know they've done it with Harry Potter stuff in the past. They've done it with Lego City. It's a really unique way of being able to open and close things and get that security that things aren't going to necessarily move. So I'm a fan of the way that kind of stuff has been done. So what we have is you have 2 of those that are in the center attached to the top wing and then the center frame fuselage. Now, what they went about doing to support the wings on the outside is they just used actual bars, really long bars, and it sticks up into one of those 1x2 rounded and modified plates that has the 2 open holes, but it's not that whole assembly. It's just the plate pulls into another plate down on the bottom. Really cool. It was an interesting, thing of lining it up. It wasn't difficult or anything. It was just kind of fascinating, something I haven't really seen before. So it does have a propeller that spins in the front, has 2 wheels in the front as well that can move. And then you do not have a rear wheel at all. You do, though, have a 2x2 rounded tiles that have tails. Tails is printed logo on it with 2 little tails there. So that is nice to have. One of the things I found really fascinating, I was building this plane and the tiling on the wings is perfect. And then there's 2 spots where there's studs sticking through. Everything else is tiled. Couldn't for the life of me realize why. And then I realized it's for Sonic or Tails or whoever, whichever one of your characters, to be able to stand there. Kids, don't try this at home, right? Like, what are you doing giving our children these ideas to stand on top of planes? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so that is what that is for. Down in the cockpit, there is no printed gauge dial or anything like that. There's a stick in here. There's a spot for Tails to stand because he cannot sit because of his short legs. And there's even a spot behind if you really wanted to that you could put Sonic on. That's where I prefer to put Sonic, but that's just my opinion. Color scheme is okay, mainly all red, some light bluish gray, and some white throughout. But that's not it. We do have one other thing. It is the workshop piece itself, which is highly important. Think of this as a very watered down side piece of like Monkey Kid, or maybe even City. So this thing is in 3 parts. That is built in 3 parts. You have your center section, which is just your walkthrough or your drive-through. And that has another printed tile of Tails' logo above it. And then you have these 2 side pieces that just look like open windows and stuff like that. You have some plants that are in the front, but they are hingeable. They can move open and close. So you can either have it big, wide open to play with, or you can have it closed to store. Not completely closed. That would have been really cool if there would have been a way for them to completely close this thing up and make it even more miniature than what it is, but I can't complain. On the back side of it, you have some tools for repairing. You have a little spot where I'm not quite sure what this is. I think it's like a plate. It might be some kind of seltzer bottle or something there. I don't really know. You've got some other tools. You've got a little radar grid, sonar grid that's going on here. There's a gem that is being, I guess, tested or something like that. Then you have this fascinating piece I don't think I have ever seen before. It's a 1x2 tile, but it has a whole lot of printing on it. It looks like some kind of radioactive type gauge, you know, where you're walking through with a decimeter. I know they don't use a decimeter anymore. I don't think it's called a decimeter anymore. Anyway, it's what it reminded me of. It's got some green lights on the one end of it, and it is handheld. I'm sure it's something very interesting. And then they have a 1x2 slope tile here, and it's got some other little printing on it. Really difficult to honestly read. So, okay, not bad. A few different set pieces, a few different build pieces, a little bit of fun, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of enjoyment. Personally, I didn't really find the play value here as much because to me, I'm more used to Sonic being that, you know, spinny guy going, not necessarily being on a plane, but I can't hate on it. I do like the plane. You do get Tails here. So anyway, moving on. We have Amy's Animal Rescue Island, 76992, 388 pieces, $50 here in the United States, and 53 euros. It comes with Tails, it comes with Amy, and it comes with crab meat. I don't know anything about Amy. Amy is a new character in my world. So let's talk about her minifigs and let's get into what it has to offer. So Amy, again, I don't know anything about Amy, but she looks like another hedgehog, dressed up in pink with the red dress. She does have the solid skirt piece that I believe originally came out with collectible minifigs. And then she does have this red and pink mallet. One end has a heart on, one end has nothing on it. Keep that in mind because when we get to the other set that has Amy, she has a completely different mallet build. Not anything that somebody's going to be like, wait, what? What? I need that mallet. It's very simple and not complex to be able to get your hands on one. And Tails here has the exact same accoutrement as before. Tail, head, body, exactly the same thing, except he does come with a little brick built flyer of his own. Crab meat, really, probably, aside from Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik, the smallest build bad guy characters. I'm a fan of this. The claws can open and close. He does have ball joints at his body for his claws, his arms to be able to move, his big snapping claws. His eyes are printed, and he has another one of those little compartments, again, for your little chicks and little fuzzy animals that have to be freed. So you do get him. Your little animals that you get here, you get a little blue bunny, which is super duper cute. You get a little puppy type thing. I think it looks more like a pig. I think it's supposed to be a pig. And then you get this little magenta colored bird. So this entire set is kind of fascinating to me. There is no slammer, just on like on the last one, no slammer for this set at all. It's kind of like, okay, I don't really understand that, but whatevs. it has a lot of vibes of Friends, maybe even Elves to a certain degree. So you have a Sonic brick built tree again. You have this little slide that goes into a little pond. You can put your little animals down there. They can slide down it. No action feature there. You have what is supposed to be this little beach scene with a sandcastle and a pail. There's a flower that is here. You do have a little merry-go-round that does spin. You have a little canopy that is up here on the very top of this where you get some refreshments. There's some kind of drink that has a lime with it, a party platter of what looks like ice cream or something of the like with some kind of cupcake with cherries on it, maybe another lime slice. Maybe it's a lime muffin. I've never even heard of a lime muffin. I think I just made that up. And a slice of watermelon. Then that connects to the little island piece where you're trying to get the ring. It has a little bridge that goes across. They use some of the bigger track pieces that they use on like tracked vehicles. If you think of like an excavator or bulldozer that has the tracks, it's the big ones that they use here. So there is a function here that goes with that bridge. And what it is on the back side, there is a Technic lever that you do lift. It does have a Technic pin that has a little ball on the end of it. So you know where it's at and you can grab it that way. But if you try and pull it straight across, that will not work. You actually have to lift the lever upward and then pull it across, and then it'll drop the bridge. Push it back across and it'll do the same thing. But you need to make sure you pull the lever upward and over, or else it will not move the bridge. So the bridge is back on. You hop across, you grab the ring. Again, it's built with this kind of modular system for the most part of these little mountain pieces, these pieces that can be moved around. A number of them can be, I want to say 4 of them, maybe 3, but some of them look like they can be, but they are not. So you take your little crab here, you put your crab meat guy right here on the top, and what happens is there is a magenta 2x2 tile, and you take that and you hit it with Amy's mallet. I couldn't do it with the mallet. It just didn't quite work that way. And what happens is you have these 2 sections, one on each side, that fly open and reveal a gem on the inside. Now, if you were to just gently open this, let's say you just put your finger on it and you just gently nudge it open, the pieces are not going to completely fly apart. You can still see the gem. They just aren't going to do what they need to. So you smash that thing and things fly open and your crab guy goes flying and you save one of the little bouncy furry animals that are going to bounce away. And lastly, if you're done getting rid of your bad guys and stuff like that, on the back side of this thing, there's a whole lot of fun little dealios in here too. You have your Technic handle here, like I said, to be able to move your bridge, but that's not that bad. It's in lime green, so it doesn't stick out horribly. But you have 2 little beds here. You've got a bottle. I guess that's for feeding the little baby animals, another gem that is here, another little bed, and a brush. There is a door that does open to the front out into the island part. And for some reason, it doesn't want to close for me. It just got stuck a little bit. It opens and closes. It's just like this hidden entrance. And then on the other side on the back, what you have is a little spring, what is that? Spring green, yellow, whatever. I think it's spring green, cool green. And what it is simply just an egg that is down there. I'm not really sure of its significance, but it is kind of fascinating. The nice thing is though, there is a little like ramp. I don't know what you're really ramping down there towards the egg, but obviously you could ramp something. So the set is pretty neat. It feels weird as a play set. There are things to it. Things do open, things do close, things you can do, things you can play with. Thus a play set. I just feel like there's not enough action here to give you the $50 price point. That's just my opinion. Before we move any further into the Sonic love that is going on here, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. So let's move on to the next one here. It is Sonic versus Dr. Eggman's Death Egg Robot. Holy crap, that's a big name. 76993, 615 pieces, and it retails for $60, and I believe it's 60 euros. Anyway, a lot of interesting things here, kind of funky, weird stuff, but nevertheless, a unique build, a big giant mech type robot. Of course, it's up my alley. So let's talk about it. So up first, we have Sonic. We've seen Sonic before. He comes in his spinner, and this one, he has two eyes open. We have Dr. Robotnik. I keep saying Dr. Robotnik. Why? I don't know what I'm thinking of. Anyway, Dr. Eggman. We have Dr. Eggman here, and he has the tall Amazon avatar. I'm thinking like Amazonian. He has the avatar legs, the really long legs that have the three studs that are open studs on the backside. Only a little bit of printing on his black legs in the front. Has that big old bulky type body piece, and then the arms that attach separately. Good printing that is on here. His head obviously doesn't move because it is all one big molded piece. Your animals that you get a little orangey yellow colored turtle, I love. You get a blue birdie, and you get a teal rabbit. The things that also come with it, obviously you have your big slammer. You have a little build that has three spikes that are sticking up, which you are trying to knock down, and a tiny little ramp piece, which kind of feels weird. I was expecting something a little bit different initially when I first put everything together. Another part that you get here is what looks like the laboratory that he's got going on here. So you have this little, think of like from the original Jurassic Park film, and where the eggs are, the little incubator thing. That's essentially what you have here, except this thing does not, the canopy of it does not attach. It just sits there. So it is meant to be knocked off. There is a little brick-built robot here. He's built of what? 8 pieces. Is the cutest little thing ever. I love it. You have a little lever here to, I guess, maybe turn something on. There's a gem. And then you have another little gauge, a 1x2 tiled gauge, and something that looks like it's supposed to be like a Tesla, not like modern day Tesla, like Nikola Tesla, some kind of electrical build here, which is kind of fascinating. The main focal point of this is the giant death robot. Now, the cool thing about this puppy is on the, what should we call it? The inside, the inside of this. No. So he has this big spot for him to sit down. There are no controls in here. Unfortunately, there are no levers or anything like that. You put him in, you put the canopy down, everything works perfect, and plop him in there. Then you have his brick-built face that is in the front, 2 1x1 round tiles that have the printing of his eyes, what are supposed to look like his glasses. His mustache pieces are swept to the side, and we get to the arms. The arms, you have these big pauldrons that are on the outside of the shoulder in the color scheme, the red and the yellow here. Ball joints there, but they only move so far. They can swing forward quite a bit, but not backward near as much, unfortunately. So then they are both the same on each side. Then you move down to the elbows on a ball joint again. Good articulation here on his right arm. If you're looking at it from the front, it would be the left side. But his right arm, he has this little spinning weapon here. It's the 3 little prongs. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I can't remember. I used to remember. And then on the other arm, he has a 6 shooter for the studs. So that is nice to be able to get. Big, giant, bulky body. I can't express to you how big this body is. Like it's even for a massive mech, this is a really fat body. This is huge. It's just incredibly large. So there is a purpose to that. Part of it is receiving the back end of his body, which we'll talk about here in a second. And, at the same time, I think it has to do with a little bit of a counterbalance going on here. His legs, there are click joints that are at the hip that you can move them in and out. You can move them backward and forth. The knees, the knees are locked, but the ankles move forward, but not backward. They are brick blocked into place, however you want to say that, however you prefer to call it like it is. And that essentially helps him from falling backwards. The balance of this thing is pretty darn good, and I'm a fan of it. So the front of his belly, when you initially build this and you get ready to play with it, it feels loose. You're like, why is that moving like that? That feels weird. That feels wrong. The reason is it's an action feature. You're waiting for Sonic to smash him in the belly, knock him out or whatever, and pop this back end off. So the back end of this is a brick-built jetpack, and it has two little spots here for two of your little animals to be able to sit on. So what happens, you have this deep, empty crevice that is in here, essentially, and there are two receiving clips that are in here that you are going to attach this to. Now, when Sonic, or you use your finger, and you press on the front of his belly, what that is doing, it is driving the entire section of the front backwards. The only thing that you see, however, are two Technic pins that are pushing backward next to where those clips are. So the great thing is you have a simple action feature. I say simple, a fairly simple action feature, and there's not a whole lot of mechanical moving parts. It's pretty simple. It's just a push and that's it. So you push it, it pops it out, and then there you have your little guys that are free. So it's a really fun idea behind it. Again, all of these things, to be able to watch the motions of them and see how these things function, make sure you go to Instagram. You can go to Facebook too. It will not be on Twitter. Twitter has kind of gotten really weird. However, you can definitely see it on Instagram, all the little moving features and functions and play things and how these things fly and all that kind of stuff. The set is I'm a really big fan of this one. I love the robot build. The feature on the back end of this to free your animals really, really, really is cool. Initially when I was going through putting that together, I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. So it's a fun little idea. It's a cute little idea. And you've got your little pieces and stuff to be able to go through it. Yeah, it's a good set. I think honestly for $60, considering what you're getting, if you're looking at it as somebody that's like, well, I don't feel like I'm getting very much. If you're looking at it as a plastic perspective, you're getting a ton. If you're looking at it from, well, I don't really get much out of this, well, then it might not be for you. It might not be for you. So on to the last set, Sonic's Green Hill Zone Loop Challenge. This thing is $100, 100 euros, has 802 pieces. 76994 is the set number. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, that's it? That's all? That's so expensive. That's all we get? Well, there's, there's quite a bit of chunks here of plastic. So let's talk about minifigs. Minifigs that you get this time. You get Sonic in his spinner and his slammer. Sonic is in his winky face pose this time. You do get Amy here. Amy is coming in her same garb as she was before, except her mallet this time, her hammer, has yellow on the end and not pink or magenta, whichever you so prefer to call it. She comes with a little jet ski or a little air flyer, depends however you want to classify it. It does come with 3 rings in this set. You get your teal rabbit and you get a penguin. I believe this is supposed to be this time in black. You also get Chopper and Neutron. Neutron is like a newt or chameleon, and a Chopper is this weird kind of flying fish type thing. I don't really know. I guess he's kind of mean looking though. So the main focal point of this build is the loop. How is LEGO going to do a loop? How do they do loops? They managed to do it with the stunt stuff. This shouldn't be any more difficult, right? So you have a bunch of different pieces that make up this big loop. You start on one side, you build it around, a bunch of Technic pins, of course. There is a flower on the one side of this. So as you exit the loop, another flower, you can either choose to attach this or not. There are a bunch of different sections that you can attach to different parts of the build. Again, it is completely up to you. What LEGO did here is they've kind of taken on the approach of the Mario modular concept, meaning everything can be attached or not attached, and it can be attached as simply as just attaching a 2x4 tile. That is essentially what is holding on all of these different pieces that, the tile is connecting a plate to a plate, the base of whatever section you want to put together. And that's it. It is that simple. It's not complicated. It's not difficult. It's unique. It's fun. And it gives you a whole heck of a lot of ideas that you can come up with in scenarios, especially if you are somebody that is, for instance, a kid. Let's say a kid is lucky enough to get the entire wave of the 5 sets. You got a bunch of slammers, you got a bunch of spinners, you got a bunch of pieces. You can really set up one heck of an obstacle course. It could be a lot of fun. I mean, if you think about the Mario stuff, it's the same idea, except there's no electronic component here, which, yeehaw. Anyway, so one of the sections you have has a ramp, and then it launches in through the big giant golden ring. It's a big giant Technic ring. Another section that you have here is this little cookout area, swim hole area. You actually do have a brick built raft, which I think was awesome. A little brick built tree. You have a little picnic area here with some food. You've got a little nice little grill. It's brick built. That's kind of cool looking, by the way. And then we move on to another section here that has Neutron. He's your little lizard that's up in the tree, he's swinging back and forth. He's on a Technic pole here. A few Technic pieces, I should say, not just a pole. And then there is a giant Technic mechanism maneuver here. So you can take the mallet, of course, your finger in this case, and you can fling it. And what that'll do is that'll knock him down and it'll release one of the little furry critters. Oh, I forgot about this one, the little kitty cat that is up in the top. Again, they have these creatures that have these open compartments so that you can release these little critters like you can in the game. So you have that section. That's how that functionality works. Really simple. Of course, it's in one of the Sonic brick built trees, as I had mentioned before. So then we move on to the spot that has a ramp and it has a bridge, a brick built bridge, which is actually really cool looking. So again, all you have to do is connect wherever you want this in the line. You can connect this however you want. So you connect that really easy. And then it also has another little thumb maneuver or finger. And what it does is on the rear side of it, it flicks the bridge up and it knocks this bad guy over, releasing your little blue birdie that is in here in that little compartment yet again. Really easy, really simple. He has printed eyes as well. I forgot the little Newt chameleon guy. Super cool the way his tail is done with the action minifigure stands that are done. And then he has printed eyes as well, but they look so silly. They look so ridiculous. Anyway, so this guy falls down and then you're done with that section. Then you move on to the last 2 sections of the build, which, I mean, arguably could be my favorite. So Dr. Eggman, see, I will get it right at some point. So Dr. Eggman, this is where the section where at the end of him and you're beating up on him, he separates. His robotic legs stay in one section and his body goes another. What they have done here is they give you a platform to be able to put his lower body on. It can be removed really easy. It can be attached really easy. If you want him to be displayed maybe, or you want him standing up as if he's flying, they have used a giant trans clear piece here. And that is holding his flying component upward. So if you want to knock them both over, you can knock them both over. If not, not. So let's talk about the legs here. The legs, they do have ball joints that are here in the bottom around the ankles. Not anything wild or crazy or anything like that. But big fat old feet that are on here to, I guess, hold everything into position. The bottom of this thing can actually open up, which is kind of unique. It's got a little bubble that is on the bottom. So it is tiled in a few grill pieces in yellow that are around the top ring of this for the ability for the top part to just sit in here. The top part is the main of, I guess, focal point interest idea that is going on here. So he has a little grabber type claw on one hand and a saw blade on the other. His arms are really long, actually brick built pieces. I'm not quite sure why they're as long. I'm assuming to be able to get the equipment for his hands way far out. The wrists are on ball joints. The shoulders are on ball joints. There are no elbows here. You do have these little jet packs that swivel 360 degrees because they're just Technic pinned in. And then to the main fuselage area, whatever cockpit area, he has no controls yet again. Behind him, he has a little green gem. He has some kind of like a radar dish or something. And then he has a shooter. He's got a little stud shooter here, tile shooter in this case, that is on a ball joint. So you can move it up. But if you move it upward, it's probably going to hit him in the back of the head, which should ultimately be game over, I'm sure, at some point for him. Anyway, so you do have that. I like how it sits in there really nice. It actually works really well on the stand. I honestly did not expect it to sit on the stand. I've messed with so many things that sit on a stand, and it seems like the weight is just slightly off, or you have to have the arms in this position to have it hold on to place or whatever. Works really, really well. So that's the Wave. The set was really neat. This one specifically, there's a lot to it. This is your main, like if you're going to go bang for your buck, this is the bang for your buck. You could probably go get the $35 set and this set and call it a day. Honestly, the plane one is cool. I like the plane, but there just seems like there's some other stuff that is missing. That would be my recommendation, just due to the sheer fact of if you're looking specifically for an obstacle course layout, play, fun idea, that is it right there. So as a whole, I think the entire idea behind it is really cool. I would not be surprised if we see more in the future, without a doubt. I'm okay with it. I think it's gonna come together well. I think there's gonna be a lot of these that fly off the shelf at like big box stores. I think it's gonna be really hard for Lego to keep them in stock. So I don't know. We'll see. These are not available until August 1st. So here in the United States, at least, you cannot get them till August 1st. Unfortunately, I know you've got to wait, another 5 weeks, something like that. So sorry about that. The cool thing about it, though, is once you have it, you've got it. It's going to be a fun experience. It's going to be really unique. And it's kind of like Mario, but at the same time, it's not. It's really, really not. So, like I said, available August 1st, wherever you buy your Lego. If you are so curious to see how these things function before you buy them, I'm sure there's reviewers and stuff that are out there on YouTube channels and such. Quick little hitters on Instagram for you to check out and on Facebook. So that's going to wrap this up. Very long episode this time. Just had so much to get to and discuss and chit chat and everything. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's bout on it.